Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to the Voices of Inclusion speaker series. Thank you so much for joining us. We're really fortunate today to have a great lineup of our Champion of the Year candidates for Pennsylvania. I know we have some folks that join us from other states, but today we are focused on our upcoming event, which is happening next week. The November 19th is the day of our big celebration. And here in PA, we're erring on the side of caution. So that's going to be a virtual celebration, but that means that no matter where you are, you can tune in on Facebook Live. So the Best Buddies PA Facebook page, which we'll share in a moment. But first, I wanted to sort of tell everyone what Champion of the Year is for those who are unfamiliar. So you may have heard about it because it does happen in almost every state that we have a Best Buddies office. This is one of two huge fundraisers that we have every year. And for those of you less familiar with how our funding works, Best Buddies, obviously we're a nonprofit organization. So our events that we have locally make up about half of our budget to sustain our programs and help us grow. So they're really important, and we rely so much on the generosity of our community. And the Champion event is sort of fun because it engages some of the most passionate supporters that we have in sort of a friendly-ish competition. And here in PA, we know we have a little bit of a statewide rivalry between Philly and Pittsburgh, but we're putting that all by the wayside, and we're coming together this year for our big statewide virtual event. And each champion has graciously agreed to raise funds and awareness for a 10-week period leading up to our big celebration. So all of these folks that you're looking at have really been reaching out to everyone they know, and not only asking for donations, but also telling them about what Best Buddies is, which is such a huge benefit for us, because every year when we hold these events, people find out about our mission and they join a chapter, or they get involved in citizens, or they want to help us with ambassador trainings. So that's the best thing for us, is just really building that awareness. And these folks that you're looking at have been a part of that. We have 22 candidates. I'm going to actually quickly share my screen to show you those folks that aren't with us here today, but all of our champion candidates. Let's see, can I share that? Yep. So this is our full lineup of champion nominees, and they come from all walks of life, all age groups across our state. And there's 22 folks that are kind of, again, in a friendly competition with each other, but they're all doing wonderful work in their own communities. So I have there at the bottom of the screen, you can see that November 19th at 8 p.m. on our Facebook page, we'll actually be sharing the stories of all these folks, and they're going to share a little bit about why they got involved, but you're going to get a chance here today to hear them tell you face to face about why they chose to accept their nomination. We also are very lucky to have our 2020 Champion of the Year, Noreen Leibrock. And I asked Sam, how much did Noreen bring in? She raised over $16,000 in her campaign last year, which is incredible. So we would love for Noreen to share a little bit about her perspective on how it all went. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen, and I would love to kind of just go around the room, if you will, and have each of our champions kind of just introduce themselves with your name, your hometown, so where you're coming from, your job or the school that you're in, and the Best Buddies connection, like what's your connection to Best Buddies. So let's kick things off with Corey, who I see first on my screen.
Hello, Corey Gilbert. I am in the Souderton, Pennsylvania area, which is about 30 miles northwest of Philadelphia, just to give you some context. So it is out here in the country. Grew up in this area my whole life. I'm employed with Merck & Company, which is how I got to know Best Buddies through some colleagues. My son is autistic, which is the reason for my passion behind the privilege of working with Best Buddies, both personally and professionally. I apologize, Millie. Am I forgetting any other tidbits?
I know your name. I know where you're from. I know how you're connected. So I think we're good. Yeah. So let's thank you so much, Corey, for joining us. And we're really lucky to have you serve on our advisory board in Eastern PA. You've been a great addition to that. So I see next on my screen, Joe. So do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hi, everybody. I am Joe Lentz. I am a teacher at Kennet Consolidated School District. I am the life skills teacher here at the high school, and I am connected to Best Buddies by running a chapter here at the high school. A couple years ago, I started one at the middle school. When I moved up here with our current students, I was fortunate enough to bring our chapter here to the high school, and we've been running it on and off through COVID over the last 4 years or so.
We're glad to have you. Thanks so much, Joe. How about Stephen? I see you right now.
Good afternoon, early evening, everybody. I'm Steve Davis, and I am from the city of brotherly love and sisterly affection here in Philadelphia. And I work for Public Health Management Corporation running the PersonLink program, which does supports coordination for people who experience intellectual and developmental distinctions and or autism. And that's kind of how I got initially connected with Best Buddies. We were looking for some additional opportunities that we could provide to the individuals that we support for leadership development, social engagement, friendship, and we came across Best Buddies. We had heard about it, and so we participated in helping Millie and her team get connected with some folks at UPenn and Drexel and all of that kind of stuff, and it just became a trajectory of awesomeness, if you will, and I've just kind of fallen in love with the mission and the vision and the people that I've had a chance to come into contact through Best Buddies. And that's how I'm connected, and that's who I am.
Thank you, Stephen. I love that. And yes, we have been so fortunate to partner with your company. And I think we're really able to do a lot of good things together. So we're really proud to have you as a nominee this year. I see Nikki and Josh next to me, next to the screen there. Go ahead, Nikki.
Do you want to introduce yourself? What's your name? This is Joshua, and I am Nikki Habecker. I live in Berks County. Yes, Josh is on Christmas already today, so we have Christmas music in the background. I love Best Buddies' mission. I am very passionate and a huge champion and advocate for inclusion and friendship and kindness. So I think for me, it's a natural fit. It was a huge honor to be nominated and recognized for our inclusion work, and Best Buddies 4 Pillars matches my vision and my dream, not only for Joshua, but for all people. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for being a part of this. And for those who are just meeting Nikki for the first time, she is such a great advocate. And I actually met her at a buddy walk. Like, I just had a table for Best Buddies that day, and she and I just really connected, and I realized this person is exactly the kind of person that we need in our communities. And I grew up, personal shout out, I grew up in Berks County, so I'm so glad to have someone helping us build awareness there, because we don't have enough Best Buddies chapters in Berks County, and I want to see my hometown really flourish with that. So thanks, Nikki.
Thank you.
All right. I see Vince next to Nikki on my screen. Go ahead, Vince.
Thank you, Millie. Hi, everybody. My name is Vincent Tefebo. I'm originally from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I'm the head of operations and production for a visual effects company that's actually based in Los Angeles. I've been working remotely thanks to the pandemic and able to come back home to where I was born and raised during this time. And I've gotten connected to Best Buddies originally through my brother, Dustin Tefebo, who sits on the advisory board here in Pittsburgh. And both of us, we have a aunt who has Down syndrome. So we've, been supporting programs like Best Buddies and others our entire life, on and off. So, when I came home, it just looked to move back to Pittsburgh was an opportunity for me to get back involved in that, because I admittedly was not participating in such things when I've been living abroad. And the majority of my adult life, I've lived in either Los Angeles, Toronto, or Baltimore. I've kind of bounced around the country. So, but I'm happy to be back here at home and happy to be a champion and raise some money and awareness this year.
Awesome. Well, we're so glad to have you back in PA, and we're going to keep you here if we can. So thanks, Vince. We appreciate it. And Nicole, I see you next.
Hello, my name is Nicole Webster, and I work for Accenture in Pittsburgh, but grew up in Wilmington, Delaware, right outside of Philly. So I'm still a ride or die 76ers fan. I joined the advisory board back in January after having participated in some ambassador trainings with our office. So I run our corporate citizenship and community engagement programming. And I am really, really passionate about inclusion, but the full scope of inclusion. And I just think that there are some aspects that are missing across the board. And so, I joined because I really just wanted to focus on every aspect of it. So it has been life-changing for me because I get to talk to Black and Brown people in the city of Pittsburgh, in the city, that aren't necessarily aware of the amazing work that Best Buddies is doing. So, my goal is to really expand the reach.
And we're so lucky to have you on our team. And I'm so glad that you're a part of our Pittsburgh Advisory Board. And I think you're going to help us make sure that we make inclusion accessible to everyone. And that's something that's really important to us. So thank you, Nicole, for being a champion and for being here. And last, but certainly not least, we have Noreen Liebrock, our current 2020 Champion of the Year. So Noreen, do you want to share a little bit about who you are and why you chose to get involved with Best Buddies and be a champion last year?
Sure. Thanks, Millie. Really appreciate the opportunity. Good afternoon, everyone. As Millie said, I'm Noreen Liebrock. Currently live in Pittsburgh. We've been here for 32 years, but I'm originally from Boston. So I'm going to do my very best to keep that accent under control this afternoon, but you may hear it come out as we talk. So why did I get involved with Best Buddies? My husband and I have a son with Down syndrome. Stephen is our youngest child. He's 27. He's doing fantastic. And we made the decision early on that he would be fully included in his education. So he went to typical preschool like his brother and sister did, and he went to a public school district. We're in North Allegheny, which is sort of north of Pittsburgh, probably 10, 15 miles north of the city. Inclusion for us really is not a piece of real estate. It's not a seat in a classroom. It's not just being with other kids. It's really being part of that community. And I think what attracted us to Best Buddies was the friendship aspect of it, because, folks who have a child with a disability learn pretty quickly when the kids are young. Everybody gets invited to the birthday parties because they're all little and it's sort of the thing, like everyone in first grade goes. But as the kids start to get a little bit older, the friendships change and it's natural. I mean, when they get into middle school, and Joe, you can attest to this, they're all goofy, right? And so they are finding their way and they're trying to figure out where they belong and what group. And, we noticed that for Stephen, right? So he didn't get invited to as many parties or get to do things. And so when I heard about Best Buddies, I really pushed our school district to, open a chapter in the high school, which they did. And I'm on the advisory board, and our school district, I'm pleased to say, now has elementary chapters. So that's very exciting that the kids from a very early age can realize that an individual with a disability has as much to offer, often more, than someone else. And they can begin those real friendships when they're little. And I have to tell you too, as a parent, when Stephen was in high school, I was really nervous about things like prom and homecoming and, who's he going to go with? Like, do I have to pay someone to do this? And because of Best Buddies, he went to homecoming with a whole group of kids because they were friends, and he went to the senior prom with those kids and in the limo and did the all-night party, and stayed up all night doing all this stuff, just like all the other kids. So it was a gift. And, you know, that's why we're involved, Millie. It's just really important. And I've been involved now, I don't know, Sam could probably tell me 8 or 9 years, maybe.
I was going to say since 1989, maybe.
I was going to say about as long as I've been, Noreen, almost a decade.
Yeah, it's been a long time. And, you know, again, for me, I'm really invested in the mission and ensuring that other kids have the same opportunity that Stephen does. So that's it.
That's a lot of it. So that's
Okay.
exactly why we hope that people will really find this mission important. And I think what we found in the pandemic, obviously it affected all of us in one way or another. For a nonprofit, it affected people's ability to give, corporations' ability to give, which made such an emphasis on, you know, these events having to be successful. But then for our community, folks with disabilities who had always sort of faced isolation or challenges connecting, they felt an extreme isolation. And then folks without disabilities felt isolated and understood better. And so we're in a unique opportunity right now, because not one of us can say there wasn't a time in the last 2 years where we didn't feel totally disconnected from our natural connections. And it made us all value those friendships we have in our lives and being able to go places with people and do things together. So I always say, and it's a little cliche, that our mission was made for this moment. And not a lot of nonprofits can say that, but we're all about connection and bringing people together. So I hope you all feel a sense of pride that you're a part of this mission and this family, and you are making it possible for us to do more and reach more people. So I hope that as we open back up and we get out into the world more, you'll have a chance to see some of that firsthand. Certainly, we're fingers and toes crossed that we'll be back in person for our friendship walk, which is a big celebration of these friendships and connections. So our champions this year won't get to do the gala that we typically do, but they're going to be honored at our friendship walks, and hopefully we'll see all of our friends there. But let's dive into some questions. And certainly if anybody has questions for our champions, feel free to drop them in the chat, and we'll try to save a little bit of time at the end if you have a question you want to ask. But
Hey,
I wanted to kind of get a sense.
Sorry, Millie, I didn't
go
mean
ahead.
to interrupt. I just saw that Angelina Sims has joined us. Angelina, hi. Just want to say welcome. Angelina is another champion of ours. I'm not sure she can turn the camera on, but Angelina, if you want to say hi, you're welcome to, and introduce yourself. And if not, we'll introduce you. We'll introduce you on your behalf.
Yes, thank you for joining, Angelina. She's one of our loyal viewers of our Voices of Inclusion speaker series, and she has participated as a speaker for us in the past too, which plug for anyone else that's interested in speaking. We love to share different perspectives through this event. So we're really happy to have Angelina on board representing the Phoenixville area. But we'll definitely, we'll see if we can have her say a few words towards the end if she's not ready to right now. But we wanted to kind of ask some questions and get a better sense of kind of how you've each approached your campaign. And I think some of you in your intro, you shared a lot of bit about like, what's your why? Why are you passionate about this? What you're doing? So feel free to share anything else that you may have missed in your intro about that, about really what's motivating you to do this, because it's not an easy job to be a champion. We know that. We know that we're asking a lot of you. We're asking you to kind of leverage your personal relationships. And I'm sure you support other causes, and you've often asked people to donate to you for different things. So this is something that's sometimes a little uncomfortable for folks, and we get it. But the fact that you are passionate about this mission, and it's very clear to me in the answers you've already given that it's really important to you. So that helps when you're making those requests from people or our businesses. So just to give everybody a sense of what kind of things our champions do, we usually provide them with lots of materials and resources to get auction items for our silent auction that we do. They can get sponsorships for our event. They can sell ads in our program book. And then they each have a fundraising page on bestbuddies.champion.org/Pennsylvania, where they can just send that link out through the social media or email, and people can go there and support their campaign. So I'll be sharing that link in the chat for each of our champions towards the end. But I would just like to kind of get a sense from each of you of like how you've approached your campaign. What have you found to be successful? So I can just kind of pick out, and we'll go through everybody if that's all right. So let's start with Corey again. If you want to just give us a glimpse of what you've been up to in your campaign.
Yeah, I mean, not unlike the friendship walk, kind of reached out to sort of like a nice known base that I know is receptive and supportive. I'm fortunate in that my employer does a donation match, so anything that I get from folks that work where I work, you get double the effects. It's almost cheating in a way, but you know what, I'll take it. So I mean, really, like, nothing crazy there. We had a really nice fundraiser thanks to Andrew. He connected me to my campaign manager. So we did she works over at Wawa in Horsham. Her name is Mary. And so we just did a really fun event over there where we raised, I think, like $125 or something like that in what, Andrew, I think 2 hours, right? Though it started getting cold and a little bit windy,
Yeah.
a little bit yucky. So, we kind of wrapped up there. But then again, with the play match, like, there's a quick $250. So I mean, nothing crazy, just a lot of like persistence that way. And I'm not a social media guy. I have a very small family, so you kind of have to explore those other channels because there's no quick wins in that way. Although I do have a very generous aunt and uncle. Sounds cliche, like from a movie, but they were an enormous help, as Sam knows. But yeah, I mean, other than that, I don't think anything. I definitely, having the campaign manager, I won't lie, Mary has given me a spark throughout it that I wouldn't have without her. I mean, there's no way around that. So it was just having that partnership with her has been a huge piece of it for me. That's definitely has made it a 1,000 times more enjoyable than it would have been already.
Right. Yeah. And that's really what our campaign managers and our mission partners just are helping our champions connect to the mission and reminding them what this is all about in the long run. So I'm really glad that you and Mary teamed up, because you looked like a dynamic duo outside.
We have fun. We have fun. Yep.
I was just gonna say quickly, Millie, I want to brag on Corey for a second. Every campaign looks different, and I'm the team member that's kind of in charge of managing our champions and keeping them on task and giving them resources. But some of you guys, within the first week, you were out and running, and some of you guys keep me up at night. So Corey was one of those people until about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and it seemed like overnight Corey went from 0 to 100. I mean, just full forced, I think it was right after you met your mission partner. So I just want to echo that spark that I think your mission partner gave you. It was incredible to see. Obviously, you have a personal connection to our mission, but I think it helps whenever you get even more involved with a mission partner. And something that I shared with the team last week that really touched me, we had a board meeting in Philadelphia, and we had shared the links of our champions, our board members that were champions. And Corey not only donated to another champion, even though he is a champion, he also put the match in for Merck. And it was just so touching to see that. Corey and our team was very moved by that. So,
oh, well, good. Well, happy to help. No, and I mean, to your point, Samantha, I mean, and the main thing too, like, was some of the pictures Mary was able to, like, our I can't call them marketing materials, I don't know what to call them, right? But the things that we sent out waiting for her, I had a lot of folks who gave very generously, who said, oh, I would have given you anyway. But boy, when I saw those pictures of you and your son and Mary, like, it changed it, which was my hopeful outcome by waiting a little bit. I didn't mean to cause you sleepless nights over it, but I was rolling the dice that would work, and luckily that it did. So
yeah, it really did work. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing. Can everybody hear me? Okay. Okay. And I would love to hear, I know, Stephen, you did something a little unique in your campaign. Do you want to share a little bit about the event that you guys had?
Yeah, we had a virtual 5K, which is always kind of interesting. But we had a pretty good turnout. It was nice place, nice weather. It was perfect weather for getting out in the woods. I'm an avid hiker, so I'm always out doing that kind of stuff anyway. But the virtual 5K really was pretty good. We got a lot of participation, both in person and virtually, if you will. Folks doing their own thing, other places. I don't know. There's probably some in-place walkers in a living room somewhere.
But Miller too was involved, I bet. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, it really brought home to me the idea of, what happens when you have friendships. You have things like, you do things like that together. Just the week prior, and I reflected on this during our 5K, I was out at a hike up at Mount Tammany with some friends that I've had from college since, for 30 years. And it really highlights, to Noreen's point and other people who have made this point, inclusion is not just about, real estate. It is about relationships that you build over time. And when you're given the opportunity to build those relationships, you have moments like I experienced the week before our 5K, where, twice a year, I'm getting with these people that I've known for 30 years, and we're just out hiking in nature, talking to each other, engaging and things like that. And it's really about having that socially valued role where you are important to someone and they are important to you for nothing else but the relationship itself. And that 5K brought that out. We talked a lot about that. My own personal experience with the ongoing hikes that I've had have brought that out. And all of that goes to how you talk about this to other people. Because once you start talking about relationships and once you start talking about friendships, that is something that we can all relate to, right? We all have our little team of friends, no matter how introverted or extroverted or ambiverted we are, somewhere in the middle. We have that group of people that we're important to and they are important to us. And that only comes from having those opportunities over time, no matter how big or small they are. And I'll close out, my comments on that to say I was reading the first few pages in Will Smith's autobiography. Big fan of his. We went to high school together, so I had to buy the book. And he was telling the story that I've heard a million times about how him and his brother had to build this wall in front of their father's store. And he said when they were looking at it from the perspective of building the wall, it was impossible. They were angry about it, that they had to do all this work. But their father told them, after listening to them grumble and complain about it, it's not about the wall. You're not building the wall. You're laying a brick. And when you lay that brick, you lay another brick. And when you lay that brick, you lay another brick. And that is the way it is with friendships, right? It's not about having, you don't go into a friendship saying, oh, I'm going to have this 30-year friendship. No, you're laying that one brick of saying hello to somebody that day and engaging with them then. And it's one brick after another brick after another brick. And before too long, Will Smith had his wall, but I've got my 30-year friendship, and other people have their 30-year, 10-year, 5-year friendships, but you don't have that if you don't have the opportunities to do that. So
yeah, absolutely. That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
So Vince, you've been busy. Tell us about what your campaign has been all about.
Well, my campaign, I'll be honest, my campaign has not gone the way I imagined it when they first asked me if I'd be interested in participating as Champion of the Year, because the day after I accepted the nomination, I ruptured my Achilles tendon.
Oh, wow.
I've been dealing with not being able to walk half of this time. So on the first half of the campaign, really just relied on, some of the pointers that just came with the starter packet to all the champions, letter writing, email writing, social media, just reaching out to my immediate network of friends. What was something was really important to me though, and also my biggest struggle, partly due to the leg. Also, my company is in the middle of delivering probably our most difficult project of the year amongst other pressures. Was I really wanted to have an event because, as everybody's talking about, this is, it's about, providing opportunities to build relationships with one another. So I wanted to do something where I could spend more time with my partner, Stephen Labrock, Noreen's son there, which I've developed we've done a few things over the past 2 weeks together, and I really enjoy hanging out with him and their family. But I wanted to do something that could bring more people together. And unfortunately, my first couple ideas fell flat. but it did spark people to at least donate, if nothing else, who I reached out to in order to do those kind of events. And we ended up doing something this past weekend at a place called 5-Iron Golf. It's a little indoor virtual golf facility, but and really just our families showed up and a handful of other people. But the facility is actually operated by my cousin, who didn't mind that it was packed that day, and we went around and just solicited everybody else in the room. Noreen just walking, and I walked around and said, "Hey, how you doing? Like, you want to donate to the cause?" So it was, although I wasn't happy with the turnout of the, and it's my own fault for not planning it far enough in advance, but it did end up turning out to be a success in that manner. So
that's great.
Last week, it's back to like social media and reaching out to the people that I know have said that they were going to donate, but I haven't seen anything come through yet.
Right. Always the follow-up is sometimes surprisingly successful. So that's great. I know Nikki's been busy because I live in her area. So Nikki, do you want to share some of the things you've been doing?
Sure. I would echo the different things that I've heard. And like I said, it's an honor to be asked and to be nominated and recognized for the work in inclusion, especially in our area. We championed Joshua throughout, and not only was he like the first that was included in the regular education classes within our school district, and bringing in a lot of different resources and really working collaboratively to make that inclusion real. So I would echo what Noreen says, the friendships, and Stephen and all of you have said this, the friendships, the relationships, building those has been instrumental in us continuing our success as he's transitioned into adulthood. So it's really important to me, the school chapters, but also the Citizens Program. And so one of the things that we did was the Friends Helping Friends at Boscov's. And I wasn't really sure what to expect with that, but it turned out to be a remarkable experience on a lot of different levels. We had friends that purchased, what you did was, it was Friends Helping Friends. We signed up, and we signed up for a time slot. We were there at Boscov's for 4 hours, and we could sell the coupons ahead of time for a donate. It really was a donation of $5, got you 25% off at that particular night on specific items throughout the store. So we were able to make a considerable amount of money from that event, which I wasn't really expecting. But not only did we do that, I think we made $275, if I'm correct. I can't remember exactly, but think about that amount in $5 increments. And some people donated more, but not a single person knew of Best Buddies. So for me, it is about the fundraising and the financial aspect, but it is about sharing the awareness of inclusion, of friendship, of Best Buddies in our area to be matched with a citizen. And so that was really exciting to be able to share Best Buddies mission. And Josh sat with me for several of the hours, and Millie stopped by as well, which was wonderful, because we do live in the same area. So that was really exciting. I also did a Moe's pop-up, which again, that was really nice. I have tapped into my friends and social media extensively, and it's been really nice to have the support from them. And then my husband shared it at his work, and several people have donated from his work, as well as the company donated a donation as well. I am doing a hammer and stain, and unfortunately that does not seem to be a huge hit on a Saturday night, which is shocking to me. So I have a very small number, and I reached out. This is a really new experience for me. I've done a lot of inclusion work, a lot of education work, adapting, modifying, wrote a book about our experience. So I've done a lot of that, but fundraising actually is very new for me. So everything has been a learning experience.
Yeah.
So that's
Well, and I think it's all
exciting.
very much trial and error too, because sometimes we make the grand plans and they don't pan out, and other things like, you know, the Boscov's event. I remember sitting next to you there for a little bit and seeing people just come up and say, well, here, you know, here's 10 instead of 5, just because
Yes.
they liked what you had to say about what you were doing. So I think you're doing a great job. Just the effort that you're putting in really speaks to your passion for it. So and anybody else, Nicole or Joe, do you want to share anything that you've tried? And, you know, I think it's good to be honest that some things work, some things don't, but, or next question will be more about like what you're planning for this final stretch next week. So feel free to include that too.
Can I
Nicole-
say one other thing?
Yeah, sure.
The other thing that has been really exciting is I've connected with a professor at one of the local universities.
Yes.
And was able to bring in Millie to help share in a more in-depth, and the possibility of maybe getting a college chapter would be phenomenal. So for me, it's the whole gamut.
Yeah. And that goes for everyone. Like, as you're doing outreach, you may stumble upon someone that's actually really interested in helping something big happen. And that's where, you know, feel free to grab one of our staff and say, help me make the case for this, because that's what we're here to do. And you guys are helping cultivate so many new opportunities through your outreach. So thank
that's
you.
been really exciting.
Yes, I'm excited too.
So thank you.
Nicole, did you want to go?
Sure. So for me, we at Accenture, we have a champion from Pittsburgh and a champion from Philly. So the competitive person that I am, we literally made it, you know, a competition. The irony is that the Philly office is like almost 10 times the size of the Pittsburgh office, but that's not having an impact right now. So what I did was, like, I would tease in an email. I was like, just imagine it's the Steelers versus the Eagles, or, you know, it's the Pens versus the Flyers. So I'm just like kind of using all of those sports references, you know, to kind of get everyone all excited about it. And that has gone over well. So we make it fun.
Right.
My office managing director, you know, went out and made his donation. He was like, let's beat Philly. So, you know, we just tried to do it, you know, in a way, again, that made it fun. You know, one of the other things that I shared, Millie, and I love that, you know, when I first talked to you when we were doing our ambassador trainings last year, is the isolation piece during the pandemic. And so that was something that I chose to share personally. I said, just imagine those of us that live alone and how we felt during the pandemic. And then think about the person that you know that may, you know, have an intellectual or developmental disability or a special ability, and think about what their experience was. And, you know, a lot of people weren't thinking about it like that, but me just sharing my own story of just being alone and really struggling through the pandemic helped to open people's eyes up. And so I got passionate about it because my daughter used to be a home health aide for a young man. And when I tell you, he absolutely loved her. Like, when she would come home from college, she would go see him. When she comes home from New York, she still goes and sees him. And the family just embraced my daughter like she was a part of the family, because Tony just developed a strong bond with her. And seeing that friendship, so even though she was a home health aide, so she was getting compensated for it, everything that she did after she left, she was not getting compensated for. So taking him to the movies and going to see him at his house and taking him out to eat and giving him stuff that his mom wouldn't allow him to have, like all of the things that she did with Tony, just to see the joy in her face and the way Tony, normally he wasn't affectionate, but whenever my daughter would come around, he would hug her, he would lay on her shoulder. And so just seeing that relationship and the way that it grew really just gave me a special place in my heart for Best Buddies and the word, because I saw the impact personally. And even though he wasn't a part of Best Buddies, just seeing that one-on-one friendship and relationship just meant so much to me. So even though I made it a competition, it's been fun. And like I said, you know, my goal is for us to really focus on the totality of inclusion, because inclusion starts with I, right? And so it's each one of our responsibility to make sure that we're exposing people.
Okay,
So-
I might steal that line, but that's that was really good.
So I'll have to share the video. Has any of you ever seen this video called Inclusion Starts with I?
No.
So my company Accenture
Yes.
rolled out this. You have? Did Andrew say that?
Yes,
Okay,
I'm going to
anyway.
put the link in the chat. It's
Oh,
a good
good,
one.
okay.
Oh, it is an amazing video that just really opens your eyes up to inclusion. We get
Yeah.
stuck in this mindset that it's, that it's gender, that it's sexual identity, that it's race, that it's all, and it's so much bigger than that. It's, people that are more senior in their career coming in, people that are more junior in their career. There are other disabilities that you don't see. And so just really focusing on, again, what inclusion means across the board. So
Yeah.
it starts with I.
I love that. I'm going to definitely check that out. Thank you for sharing that. And I think
Thank
it's
you.
so great to, I mean, what you're describing is a real friendship, and it's the
Yeah.
difference between showing up, just doing what you have to do and clocking out, and really like giving of yourself and pouring into someone else. And so that's beautiful. And I'm glad that's helped inspire and motivate you.
Thank you.
And Joe, do you want to share a little bit about your campaign, what you have coming up or what you did already?
Absolutely. You guys know I like to talk a little bit. So ultimately, for me, all of the great experiences and conversations we've had have really been centralized around the program that I facilitate here at our high school. Early on, I was kind of humbled a little bit. I had these grandiose ideas of these things, and through some life things going on and stuff here at work, unfortunately, I've not been able, I'm one of those that keeps staying up at night. Things have not gone how I originally anticipated them going, unfortunately. So about 2 weeks ago, I had to just sit down and say, you know what, I can control what I can control, and I'm going to do what I can do. So what we did was our kind of chapter here has been doing a little bit more involvement within our community in the school. And we had to realize that it's about those relationships and building awareness for what we do here at our local high school and in our middle school, who just started a chapter. So more than anything, I think this experience has taught me that yes, planning ahead of time is going to do things much more easier in the long term. But more specifically, our leadership team and our local administration here. I don't know if you guys know Marissa Cleese here. Nice enough to send an email out to our admin titled, "You have a champion in your midst." I don't know if any of you guys received one of them as well, but it brought more notoriety to what I originally had hoped to do here in our local community. Bring our admin and our local principals to just say, what is Best Buddies and what are you guys doing there? So long story short, again, I was interviewed a little bit ago, so hopefully that will come out to our district. Hopefully it can be shared to our, not just the buildings in our school, but the local community. And again, the fundraising may not have gone how I anticipated, but building awareness. At the end of the day, it's awareness and it's acceptance of those with differences, and not in a negative way, but we celebrate our unique abilities. And our chapter here has grown by about 30 students or so. Just
Wow.
inquisitive of learning about what we do and how to help out and include others when, they'd walk by them in the hallways and not even realize, wait a minute, maybe things are different because I wasn't aware of why things were different. And I think that speaks to the culture and climate that our world is in at the moment.
Yeah. I remember talking to you about the letter that was sent to just, one of the best ways to launch your campaign is just to announce that you've been nominated. And I think I try to emphasize that to everyone in the beginning, because I've just seen over and over, sometimes people are feeling shy or timid. They don't want to draw attention to themselves, but just telling people, I've received this nomination, I am being recognized. It brings the people that care about you around to just like really amplify that. So I'm so glad that you received some recognition as an awesome advisor through that. And I know you're waiting for some approvals and things like that for that to be amplified even further, but one more week, we got to get them to promote that. But I'm so glad that that helped you and gave you a little boost that you needed. And to know that the awareness that everyone's building is immeasurably important to us. And to know that the awareness that you built through your campaign has helped more students find your chapter, that means so much to me. I'm so excited to hear that. So I would love to kind of shift gears a little bit and ask everyone sort of because we're running a little low on time now. I want to hear kind of the impact that you guys all hope to make on Best Buddies, on folks with disabilities in our community. What do you want the legacy of your campaign to be? But before we do that, I would love to ask Noreen to share any pearls of wisdom, any good advice as we approach this last week of everyone's campaign. As our successful reigning champion, any last minute things that you want to pass on to these folks, Noreen?
Well, I just want everyone to know that Vince is going to keep the trophy.
Oh my goodness.
So,
oh no.
That's all I have to say. We're throwing it. We're going to keep it in Pittsburgh.
Oh, geez.
Well, and he's got Stephen as his mission partner. I mean, yeah. What I say is he's far more popular than
the scales are tipped
than I am.
It's so funny when we talk to the Pittsburgh champions versus the Philly champions. The Philly champions are very, I guess, city of brotherly love, right? They're helping.
We're loving over here.
They're encouraging each other. And on the Pittsburgh, we are just cutthroat. Every time I talk to one of our champions, one of our board members, everyone is most concerned about keeping this belt in the Berg, which, you know,
Who hurt you out there?
No. We did. We're keeping it.
We're prideful people over here, Millie.
The pandemic has educated me about Pittsburgh far more than I imagined, because we work together so much more closely as a team now. Yeah. And I've fortunately been able to meet a lot of the supporters and participants in Pittsburgh. I have a lot of respect for you. I'm not going to play tug of war with a trophy or anything.
Okay.
But go on, Noreen. I'd love to hear what else you have to share.
And I don't know if it's a pearl of wisdom or whatever, but you know, last year was really, really challenging. You know, to be able to be the champion, and you know, and again, I had Stephen as my mission partner, and he's more popular than any of us put together. But you know, we couldn't do any events. I mean, we were thick in the middle of the pandemic. No one went outside. I still was working from home. I retired. At my dining room table. But the one thing that I did, and you know, we're going to do it again this week, Vince, is I pushed social media, but I also did a direct ask. And what I found was when we do the blitzes and stuff, it's easy to ignore it, right? I mean, it's on Facebook. Everybody's, you know, help me raise this for my birthday, and so is sick, and I'm trying to whatever. You know, and so it's easy to ignore that. I did personal emails, and I sent them out this morning to people saying, I need your help. I need you to support what we're doing here. And I hope it works as well. Last year, 100% of the people came through. I mean, and I wasn't asking for $1,000. It was, if you can give us $10. You know, some of the kids they're high school kids, or they're in college. They don't have a lot, but you know, it was that personal, outreach. Because usually when you say, I know for me, if somebody called me and said, can you help me? I'd be there in a flash. Right. What do you need? What can I do? Do you need rides, food, whatever? So, you know, that's something that I hope.
No, I think that's important.
And keeps it in Pittsburgh.
I agree with that sentiment if I can, Noreen, because
Yeah.
I mean, as I said, I literally, the day I accepted this, I tore my Achilles tendon. So the very first 2 weeks.
Maybe somebody did that to you and was trying to take you out.
might
I
have been
think it
somebody-
wasn't Noreen. It's safe to
We
say.
wouldn't let that happen, Millie. That's not happening.
But that's, that what Noreen's describing exactly is better describes how I started my campaign off, because I honestly, I had all these grand ideas when I first started talking about doing it, and I accepted the campaign, tear my Achilles, and
Right.
I kind of felt helpless. So I just went directly to people I knew that could support in the first couple of weeks and say, hey, I need your help. They
Yeah.
need, Best Buddies need your help. It's been
Yeah.
incredibly
And I-
challenging. So.
I was going to say too, I think in the last week, obviously the personal ask is really important, but I think when utilizing things like social media, Corey kind of brought this up, he saw a big bump whenever he was posting pictures of him and his mission partner. I think this last week, if you're going to utilize social media, maybe it's your 1-minute video that you guys all had to send me that you upload and say, hey, here's my personal story about why I chose to do this, or maybe you film something new. But I think people seeing your face and talking about our mission is really important. We also have some great, I'm going to task Andrew to drop this in the chat. We have some great videos. We have even the Best Buddies PSA. It's 1 minute long, but it really highlights our mission.
On it.
If you just go onto YouTube and look up Best Buddies, we have hundreds of videos about our mission. And I think people seeing it, if they haven't experienced it, is the next best thing. And I think that you guys will see a lot of donations come in just by using, the videos, or even including them in your personal ask email. So for people that are unfamiliar with, our mission, like Noreen said, everyone's asking for money constantly on the social media and everywhere. So I think just making it this week as personal as you can, even just saying, here's how my last 9 weeks went. This is, you might say, hey, this campaign didn't go how I thought, but here's the good things that came out of it. So I think really just utilizing this week to make it as personal as of an ask as possible is good advice.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think, and don't feel like you're done yet. I mean, this so much can happen in a week, so much can change. And, we can re-injure Vince if we need to. No, I'm just kidding.
No.
He's got backup. I'm not trying to start anything.
Wrap
He
yourself
but-
in
just
bubble
started
wrap.
walking last week.
I was going to say his rehab is just getting started. I did the same years ago, and he's got a long ways to go.
But we are, we're really rooting for all of you. And honestly, regardless of the outcome, Friday is going to be about celebrating everything that you've done, raising awareness and raising funds, because that's really what's going to sustain our mission and expand us. I say this all the time, so forgive me if you've heard it before, but when I started working for Best Buddies about 6 years ago, there were 50 chapters in Pennsylvania. And we have 145 today. And we have a citizens program that we didn't have back then. So think about all the lives, because each chapter represents anywhere from 30 to 130 students that are involved, and their parents know they're involved. So that's changing those perceptions. It bubbles out even further from there. We live in a different world than we did 6 years ago because of people like you. So thank you all so much for all the efforts that you're putting in. I'll just put it out to anyone who wants to share, because we only have a few minutes left. But what would you like to see the legacy of your campaign be? What is the impact that you want to see make happen here in Pennsylvania through your efforts? Any thoughts on that? I see, this is why I call on people.
Also,
Well,
I'll
okay,
say-
Vince, you go.
Oh, I think you touched on a little bit when you were talking earlier about how difficult last year was, and this year wasn't too much because we're still coming out of the pandemic. But my goal is that the funds that we raise this year are going to put us in a position so that next year we can do more and more of the in-person events and getting people back to that, building relationships, assuming the world is safe for everybody by that time, which looks like we're going in that direction, right? But that's what I think, is as I said, my personal experience is growing up with an aunt with Down syndrome that I remember being a Special Olympics hugger when I was like 7 years old.
I did that too. That's awesome.
So, and that's has stuck with me in that things. And there's still people that she's developed friends with, and that I still will see around occasionally and remember them, or it's those kind of relationships you build long term that helps the community as a whole. And I think that's what volunteering and all this is really about. It's about opening up, your own life to different perspectives and the importance of community and its ever increasing digital world, and how important it is to just come people together. So just, summarize, I'm hoping our money that we raise this year is really going to put us in a good position to start doing things in person again together next year.
I love that. Thank you. Anybody else?
I would echo what Vince said as well. I think for me, I am trying with the fundraising and learning and growing, but it is more than that. It is about the fact that everybody wants a friend. Everybody wants to be able to love and be loved, and to be able to belong actually in their community and be a part of their community with roles of social value, not just being helped, but also being able to help. So for me, it is continuing to inspire hope, love, possibilities, inclusion, awareness, really the importance of being in community.
Yeah, I love that.
I have to get going. Thanks, Thea.
All right.
I just want to echo what Millie had to say. As the staff member whose job it is to raise money, I know you guys hear a lot from me about money, but the impact that you guys are having on our mission, the amount that you're spreading our mission to new people and new families is absolutely incredible. It's something that we will never forget. I had a pretty surreal experience this week. We are trying to open Best Buddies at the high school that I attended. So similar to Millie saying, Bucks County, I'm feeling that. Oh, Berks. Go back. Sorry. But just wanting it in your hometown and in where you went to school. And I can't remember exactly how many years, but I graduated in 2008, and just the difference that I've seen, not only within myself, but within the community and the world towards people with disabilities and people with differences, it's just very moving. And I think back about the way that people with IDD were treated when I was in high school, and just that now that they want to open this program, it's completely night and day. So that none of that would be possible at the local level without our champions, without our board members, without our supporters and our volunteers. So we just really want to thank everyone for their efforts. This has been such a moving experience for me, coaching the champions over the last 2 years. And this is such a wonderful, wonderful group. So it's been an honor to work with you guys, and we look forward to celebrating everyone on Friday.
Yeah, be sure to tune in Friday night at 8 p.m. Sam, is that right?
8 o'clock, yep.
8 p.m. on Facebook. And we, again, are so grateful for all of your efforts. And all of you are champions, period. There's no question. So just thank you all for joining us today and learning a little bit more about our champion nominees. And we'll definitely be learning a whole lot more about them next week. Good luck in the final stretch of your campaigns, but know that, we're grateful for every ounce of effort you've put into this, and you're already making an impact in your own communities with the work you're doing. So hope everyone has a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you next time on the Voices of Inclusion Speaker Series.
Thank you.
Take care,
See you,
guys.
everybody.
Hi.